The book of Genesis ain't a neat little story you read once and put away. No, it's the shape of the world itself, the deep, abiding memory that lives in the marrow of men and the cracked clay of the field. It's the sound of the first shovel scraping the dirt, the first cry of a baby, and the endless ache of a human heart trying to figure out why the road is so long. It is our starting place, where the simple truth of our existence was hammered out under a sky that had just been invented. There is a moment in that beginning, so big it cracks the mind open, when there was nothing but a churning darkness, formless and void. And then the word, simple and sudden as a hammerfall, "Let there be light," and there was light. It's not a question asked or a suggestion offered. It is the absolute, unyielding decree that sets the whole grand, terrible machine of life spinning. Look at the sky on a clear nickel day, or watch the ocean turn silver under the morning sun. That is the lingering echo of that first sentence. It speaks to a power so immense that it is tied not to thrones or crowns, but to the very breath we take and the water we drink. It is the raw, untamed holiness that put the stars in their places and made the land stand up from the water. It is the source of all awe. But the story doesn't end in the perfect, easy garden. That was too clean for us, too simple for the complicated mess we were born to be. In Genesis, the true story begins when we are kicked out, when the gates slam shut, and the hard ground must be turned over by the sweat of a man's brow. The pain and the struggle, the constant, heartbreaking necessity of labor. That is not merely punishment, it is the proving ground. It is the knowledge that the food on your table cost you your back and your morning. Cain and Abel, the first brothers, tell the tale. One works the soil, one shepherds the flock, and the simple fact of choice, the simple fact of difference, brings the shadow of sorrow. When God asks, "Where art thou?" it is not because he lost us, but because he knows we have lost ourselves. It is a terrible, hopeful question, demanding we account for the crooked path we walk in the cool of the evening. And yet, through the flood and the fury, the promise holds. It is a tiny, persistent seed of hope planted in the arid dust. Consider Abraham, a man who knows nothing but his own land, told to leave everything for a place he has never seen, just on the promise of the invisible. That is faith, stark and lonely, like walking into a cold morning fog. His eyes are turned toward the heavens, and he is told, "Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them." And he said unto him, "So shall thy seed be." The covenant is not written on paper or carved into stone. It is written on the whole sprawling, impossible landscape of the night sky. It is a promise so vast, it swallows up every doubt and every fear of the road. Genesis is the story of a family, a rough, quarreling bunch. Joseph betrayed, Jacob wrestling by the river, the constant human mistakes repeated generation after generation. It tells us that our hope rests not on being perfect, but on being persistent. It tells us that the divine hand is always in the dirt, always in the struggle, pulling a great, good purpose out of the broken lives of common men. It is the living knowledge that no matter how deep the rut, no matter how hard the harvest, the promise given in the beginning still holds fast. The road is long, but the light is true.